Okay, Stacey, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
We are here in Picnic Park, Picnic Point,
Picnic Point.
Picnic Point. I haven't been here for a while. In Toowoomba, where we both grew up, and we were childhood friends. So I wanted to ask you some questions, in particular about Indigenous issues. So I might ask you. We might begin with, how do you identify?
I identify as an Aboriginal Australian,
Mhm.
one of the First Nations people.
Mhm.
I'm a proud Mandandangi woman from St George,
Mhm.
and have moved to Toowoomba at the age of 1.
Right.
So I identify with my culture very strongly.
Uh huh.
I don't know what to say.
Let me ask you about the tribe that you mentioned. How has
Yes.
that worked? You're like lots of different
um,
tribes across the country historically.
Historically, there are over 600 tribes across Australia.
Right.
So people may think of it as like we think about it as different nations across the world,
Right.
where the 600 tribes within Australia were like 600 different nations in one country.
Right.
So
Each one had its own culture and identity and all
yes, and each tribe may speak a different language,
that. Right.
and so everybody has their country where they come from.
So each Indigenous person could trace their roots back to a particular tribe,
Particular tribe
area of the country,
That's exactly
of Australia.
right. Yes,
Right.
yes. So my country is out St George, out towards St George, all the way back through to it covers Mitchell, all those sort of areas,
Right.
and it's the Mandandangi tribe.
Right.
Um,
And do your parents have come? I mean, they have different backgrounds?
so my mother's a Mandandangi woman.
Uh-huh.
My father's a Kamilaroi man from Weewaw in New South Wales.
Right.
Indigenous person follows their mother's bloodline as to
Okay.
where they come from
So that's why you identify with that tribe.
with that tribe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
It's interesting.
yes.
And we went to a primary school in Toowoomba, and it was 99% white. So I was interested to know, because we were best friends growing up, and I don't think we never talked about those kinds of things.
No, we didn't.
So I'm interested to know how it was for you going to that type of school where there were very few Aboriginal or Indigenous children.
Yeah, going to that school, I sort of didn't really notice the segregation between myself and non-Indigenous students.
Right.
As you know, like we had a close-knit group of friends that we all hang around,
Yeah.
and my culture or my colour was never an issue.
No.
But then, being a child, we sort of didn't really confront that issue very much. But growing up now, there is a lot of racism within Australia.
Mhm.
I've been subjected to it. My children have been subjected to it, and it's sad because you think that after all these years that racism wouldn't be an issue, but it is.
Mhm.
I guess I confront racism head on.
Yeah.
If someone says something to me that I feel is racist, I will confront them directly
You're right, in the moment.
in the moment. Yeah.
And in regards to like the nation, a country on a national level, when talking about racism, what do you think are some of the biggest problems or biggest issues that Indigenous people have to deal with?
I guess the lack of cultural understanding across Australia is a big issue. It builds a lot of barriers. Indigenous people have so many barriers that they're confronted with.
Mhm.
Health is one, education is another, alcohol and drug abuse. And I guess there's a lack of cultural awareness and empathy that people just think that Aboriginal people are no-hopers, and
Mhm.
that this is the way that we like to live.
Mhm.
But it's not. I myself work in education, so it's a really big role for me to play a part in our young Indigenous kids' lives to make sure that they obtain an education
Mhm.
and are ready to take on the world and are equipped with those skills
Right.
to live in mainstream Australia.
Yeah.
Um, But
Would-
it's sad, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about your job earlier. What is it exactly that you do?
I'm a community education counsellor at Harristown State High School here in Toowoomba. We're the largest school in the region
Mm-hmm.
with 1,600 kids, and I look after 220 Indigenous children through Year 7 through to Year 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I really believe that my job's a very important one in providing the kids support and guidance so that they stay in school and remain engaged so that they complete all the way through to Year 12.
Excellent. See, we got through 5 minutes very quickly, so that's
We
part
did.
one. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.